the stories I tell, the content I post, it is different from what you see a lot of creators post. But I think that that's also what Detroit needs. I think Detroit needs more innovators. I think Detroit needs more storytellers. We need more people to really get to the root of a lot of things versus just the aesthetic.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Starving Artist Development Podcast. We archive and amplify stories from various cultural and creative entrepreneurs, focusing solely on the arts, helping others move their creativity forward. Of course, I'm your host, Gabrielle Carruthers. Today's guest is the founder of the Jazz Report. She is a storyteller. She is a broadcast journalist. She is even Detroit's personality and a media personality. She is also a host. Her focus is on amplifying businesses, events, and entertainment here in the city of Detroit, making sure that she is not only using content creation, but innovation to amplify the city's positive climate for change. I would like to welcome today's beautiful guest, Miss Jazlyn, the Jazz Report, Lindsay. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I'm doing so well. Thank you.
Well, listen, like I said, I've been watching your content for quite some time, and I have been enjoying your style of storytelling when it comes to content creation. And I know for a lot of journalists, especially journalists that went to school and obtained their degrees, when we talk about content creation and just proper interviewing, I know that sometimes worlds can collide, but you've made it work. And
Yes.
I love what you're doing here in the city of Detroit. And I especially wanted to just, give you your flowers and tell you that I have been enjoying your content thus far. So thank
Thank
you for
you.
really putting Detroit on the map. I appreciate that for sure.
Oh my gosh, thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
that
It
for
it,
sure.
it means it means everything.
I will listen. Seriously, from one young, beautiful black girl to another. I know one thing about a Detroit girl. We love our city and we are always going to champion our city and we are going to fight for our city no matter what. And like I said, I must say that you are representing not only Detroit, but you are representing for the young black girls that aspire to be journalists as well as content creators, but to do it so effortlessly and flawlessly, I must say, because I saw that Buddy's Pizza little infomercial. I was like, okay, girl, listen, I see you. I see you. And I love Buddy's Pizza. So I can appreciate that. I can really appreciate that. But yes, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So
Absolutely.
if there is anything that I missed, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh my gosh, I know. So you hit everything on the nail, and thank you so much. Buddy's Pizza is actually like my favorite pizza. Let me just put that out there. Um, but born and raised right here in Detroit, grew up. I'm an East Side girl. East Side till I die. East Side is the best side. I always have to just make sure I say that. But yes, from the East Side, grew up. I was raised by a single mother. My mother was a school teacher, but she also did hair, did nails, feet, and everything. I was an athlete. I grew up playing basketball. I grew up actually as a girl. I didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself. I had very low self esteem, was just very just timid, very shy. Basketball was my way of me, I guess, just getting outside of my shell. And growing up, I really didn't have a sense of direction of what I really wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to play basketball. But as time went on and I became a teenager, especially growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, you hear so many negative things that are said about Detroit. Newspapers to TV to radio, it was just so much negativity. And I realized, like, I want to say maybe about 12 years old, that I was like, I wanted to be a person to help share the positivity of Detroit. There are so many stories that go untold and that go unshared because your major news outlets can't cover everything. Unfortunately, they have to cover breaking news, they have to cover hard news. And so there's so many voices that are left unheard. And so I knew that I wanted to be the person to help share those stories and to help other people's voices be heard, and the ones that, we may not hear from. And so that is essentially what drove me to going to school. I graduated from Wayne State University. I have my broadcast journalism degree from there. And initially, I was still heading towards the sports direction because I played basketball in college as well. But entering into my career, entering into that first news station, obviously I started off doing digital news and digital media, working as a content producer and the station's first digital reporter. And it was there that I really got my start in understanding exactly how to operate news and storytelling from a digital landscape. It just so happened the news station that I worked for, there was no digital platform. Everything is still, at that time, we're talking 2018, everything was still mainstream television. And so I came in really amplifying and really creating the first news segment digitally for that news station. But even though I was in Missouri at the time, I was still keeping an eye on what was going on in Detroit because, again, my goal was to always be back home. And so after working there and getting some time there, I came back home, started working for the city of Detroit, working as a social media manager for DPD, then went on to work in the mayor's office and now working for the Detroit Fire Department, but still essentially working in this digital media landscape, still doing storytelling, still promoting our law enforcement, our city government, our first responders in a positive way, still connecting them to our audiences. And that's just truly what I love. And that's why I love doing storytelling. It's the connectivity. It's to help someone else see something in a way that maybe they have never thought about it before. It's to give that different narrative and to give that different perspective. And again, using other people's voices to help share their stories in a way that it needs to happen. And so this is why I love creativity. I love being a storyteller. I love being a creator because, one, I'm a community person, and this gives me a chance to connect with my community. And I'm still learning. I learn more about the city the longer I do this. But essentially, like I said, this is for Detroit, but this is nationally too. Detroit is having such an amazing comeback, as so many people say, even though the people who were here, it hasn't been a comeback. But I just want for our city, our residents, and the people who don't live in Detroit to see Detroit for really what it is, to hear the inside voices, to hear it from the real Detroiters. That's why I do what I do. And I absolutely love doing this. And I also just love being able to offer young, aspiring journalists and aspiring media professionals. I want them to be able to see that you can still do storytelling. You can still be a journalist, and you don't have to necessarily work for a traditional news media outlet. I am still doing the exact same thing I would be doing if I was still having my internship at Channel 4, but I'm doing it my way. I'm telling the stories that I want to tell. I don't have the restrictions of somebody else telling me, well, we can't get to that right now. No, if I want to cover a young man who just opened up a bookstore on Puritan on the west side, and he's doing that for his community, that is the story that I'm going to cover. And I actually did. And that was an amazing story. And I'm so thankful for Juwan Howard for giving me that platform to be able to help share his story. But it's stories like that that are important and that need to be told. So I just hope that, there's someone else again who may be in broadcast journalism and maybe getting ready to graduate like I did. And they just need that extra resource person. They just need that extra person to see, for them to see what they're doing. I didn't have that in college. I've had to learn by trial and error. And I just hope to just be able to be that person. I want to be that person for someone else.
Well, listen, I must say, you are doing, and I always jokingly say this, but I really do mean it. You are doing the Lord's work, right? And I say that because, one, you have managed to balance journalism. Well, I honestly know you're a broadcast journalist, and to merge that with the digital content creation aspect, which, at the time you had your traditional journalism, and then you have, your broadcast journalism, but actually doing it digitally wasn't heard of. And to be able to storytell and to build the momentum of the content that you create. Again, I was intrigued and I was fascinated with how you actually build your stories. Because I know with some content creators, sometimes they feel like it's about the aesthetic, but in reality, you want to capture people with your content. So the best way to keep a person is to be able to tell a story, right?
Yes.
And for you, how do you balance that journalistic need for the objective truth with the creative need for a specific aesthetic? Because I know it can be, difficult sometimes, because I know you're like, hey, I want to tell the story, but I still want to look good while I'm telling the story too.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's absolutely. I think that is just a consistent challenge that most journalists and storytellers have, those of us that come from that background. Because again, media and the news landscape has changed so drastically. Like I said, I started in 2017, and now we're not even 10, almost 10 years later, and everything has changed. For me, the biggest objective is to always remember is what does my audience want to see? What is going to grab my audience's
Mm,
attention? So even though I still want to tell a story, I still want to do the interviews, I still want you to actually hear, why is this even important? Okay, why are we even talking about this? So that's the story. How is this impacting, or what is the importance of this, right? But then combining your trends or combining your digital strategies, so that way it does still appeal to your digital audience. So for example, you're going to tell your story, you have your person that you're going to interview, you're going to talk about what the event is about. Again, why is this important? Okay, great, that's the journalism side. Now you bring in the content creation side. Okay, well, now you need a hook. You're not going to start your video off going straight into
mm,
the story. You have to have a hook. You have to be able to capture your audience's attention within the first 3 to 4 seconds if you want them to continue to watch your video. Okay, we can't tell this story for 2 minutes. We have to keep this to 45 to 60 seconds. Again, because on social media, everybody's attention span is very, very short. So always just trying to be
mm.
strategic about, again, how do I share this story in a way that will still keep my audience's attention? We want it to be entertaining, we want it to be captivating, but we still want to make sure that we're hitting the point of this story as well. And I think I'm just grateful
Mm.
because I had that storytelling experience, but again, being able to work in the digital media landscape actually for my city, for the different departments, that has really also given me that extra leverage and that extra routine, that extra practice to be able to do that. So I think I'm just very blessed to be able to have that balance. I think my story and my journey just aligned for me in a perfect way to where now independently I can blend those two together.
You definitely just touched on a very specific topic with journalism, knowing the difference in covering a 60-second clip versus doing a deep dive into a
Yes.
story. So
Hmm.
for you as a broadcast journalist, when you are covering a complex cultural movement, whether it's an event, amplifying the voice of a business, or even a community organization, how do you decide what to compile for a 60-second clip versus taking a deeper dive and doing a long form version of the
Hmm.
story?
Yeah. I think it really depends on A, what is happening, B, the timeliness. Is this of importance right here, right now? And then again, will my audience be able to connect to the person that is speaking? So I've done events where I went and did a story on the Noble brand where they had a wellness event. I just most recently did a story on an MTV TV star who just so happens to be from Detroit, and he held a 5K race right at the DeQuinder Cut. Things like that, they connect to our community, but those I can compile into 60-second reels. So you have those. Where on the other hand, again, I most recently just did a story on the Howard Family Bookstore, and I posted that story a day before the grand opening. So there were so many layers to just his story, the story of the bookstore, the different layers of the bookstore. You have a bookstore, you had a lounge area, you had a community garden, you had someone who believed in trying to improve literacy. in our city, art murals, giving his community a space. Like in his words, he said the suburbs have this. Why don't we have this right here in our city? So because there were so many layers of that story, that video I think ended up being maybe about 4 minutes and like 12 seconds or something like that. And I was a little nervous because that one was a lot longer than what I had, typically did. But I knew the context and the body of that story. I just knew that it would just connect to children, teenagers, adults, other people that are in city government. There were so many people that were invested into this young man and into his story and into this new business that's again sits right here on Detroit's West Side, right here on Puritan. Since when do you ever hear about a bookstore opening up on Puritan? You never hear something like that. So I took a
Yes.
gamble with that, letting that video be a little bit longer, but the results ended up speaking for itself. I think that had about maybe 42,000 views on it. And I have a lot of shares and everything on it. So I was just super, super proud to be able to um use that story and for it to really connect with the people the way that it did.
Well, listen, thank you for covering that story. I've been following his journey for quite some time, and I'm a book nerd, as you can see in the back. I love a good book, but most importantly, I love supporting black authors and black bookstores, right? Bookstores owned that are black owned coffee shops, all of that. And it's beautiful that the community can have something like that right in the heart of the neighborhood. I know a lot of times you hear stories about, oh, why won't they put a Starbucks in the hood, right? Or why won't they put a Target in the hood?
Hmm.
But really, it's up to us to build and create these opportunities. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a franchise, right? It doesn't have to be a
Yes.
Barnes and Nobles. It doesn't have to be a Target or a Starbucks. We can create these opportunities for our people by our people. The most important thing is just that we just have to continue to go out and support versus, hey, let's support on this one day because it's an opening day. It's like, no, we have to continue to divest in these businesses because that's how we, one, keep the black dollar circulating, and two,
Yes.
we build a sustainable ecosystem, especially here in the city of Detroit, which is so
Yes.
important. And
Yes.
I know you touched on the as people will call it, our combat or comeback story, even though we've always been here. The
Hmm.
people have always been here. We never left. It's just
Hmm.
now you have people that see how a lot of us are divesting into our communities, how we are pouring back into our communities, how we're getting involved in planning and development, how we are championing our new mayor, Mayor Sheffield.
Yes.
And it's so important that those stories come from our people, especially with Detroit being a predominantly black city. And I know for me, having black creators or even black journalists continue to amplify our voice, I feel like the stories are more original, they're more authentic, they feel close to home. And I know
Yes.
that people, especially people that are viewing your content, when they see you, they see a Detroit girl, but they see relatability, right? they
Yes.
um they also build trust with you because of your consistency, because you continue to show up for your community, because you continue to, promote and amplify different community organizations, different events, whether it be entertainment or a cultural event, right? So
Yes.
I know for you, man, we live in a globalized digital world. And I know as a millennial growing up, we kind of like came in when
Yes.
digital media was starting to take off. So we got the best of both worlds, right?
Yes. Yes.
But how do you find the local human stories that still resonate with an audience that may not be here?
Well, that's a very good question. I think for me, just even thinking back to when I first got into journalism, I always wanted to cover the in news they call them the fluff stories or the happy stories. I always wanted to focus on those kind of stories. Doing hard news, during breaking news, that was never my focus. And that was also part of the reason why I had a hard time securing a position, because I wasn't going for what a lot of news stations wanted at that time. But I think regardless of whether you are a resident here in the city or if you're someone that lives in LA, I have family that live in LA, I have family that live in Alabama that see my content. At the end of the day, my audience is urban. They come from other urban cities. I have an audience in Memphis. I've seen Memphis pop up on my feed. I've seen I've even seen Nashville pop up in my analytics before. I've seen St. Louis. And I know that St. Louis audience comes from the people who, when I at the time when I was in Missouri, and some of them probably still follow me. But I think all in all, regardless of whether it's Detroit, Chicago, Memphis, LA, Inglewood, or whatever, when you come from an urban city, there's still some type of relatability that we all still experience living in an urban community. And I think what draws people to what I post is the fact that, again, because it's Detroit, and if you're an outsider, you've heard this stigma, you've heard these stories of Detroit. But again, because I show and I tell the stories from a different lens, that's what I think connects people to the stories that I tell and to the content that I post. Again, you're able to see more of an inside access when you actually have the city's journalists, when you actually have the city's creators, people who have been here, lived here their entire lives. Even if they did leave, they came back. When you have natives controlling the narrative, it makes an extreme difference, especially in today's day and time where everything is digital. So I think that plays a part also in our advantage, because this is easier to grasp. This is easier to view. So I can probably retain some information that I get off of an Instagram, off of TikTok, probably a lot quicker and a lot more than I can if I try to turn on channel 2, unfortunately. And I think maybe that's also where you see a lot of journalists now who are, even though they probably still work for these traditional news media outlets, they're even understanding how you have to have a sense of creation on your own platform. You have to, because that's where the people are. And that's how you connect to the people now.
Listen, and I know there are a lot of journalists that are going independent now, whether it was by choice or by force.
Yes.
And I'm enjoying like their take on a lot of things that are happening in the world, like just in general. Like I know our homegirl from Detroit, Mel Hill, I'll limit, he's not from Detroit, but you know, his take on just media and independent journalism now. And then even some of our own independent journalism outlets like Outlier Media and Bridge Detroit, and
Yes.
what they're doing to, you know, continue to like push the culture forward, one, right? But like you
Mm-hmm.
said, using stories from the people that are actually in the heart of
Mm-hmm.
everything that is going on versus outside influences trying to control the narrative. And I know for you, especially, I know you see a lot of that, especially working in media, where you have people trying to control the narrative of the city. And it can be disheartening sometimes, but also it could light a fire under your behind too.
Yes.
Like, no, I can't
Yes.
let these people control the narrative of the city, right?
Yes.
And like I said, if anybody knows whether you're a D boy or a D girl, if anybody says something out the way about the city, it's this, you get this urge where you want to
Yeah.
fight for your
Yes.
city because
Yes.
you know the beauty, the rigor, the
Mm-hmm.
resilience that resides here. And when
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, like, we can say, you know, New York is a great place, and if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. But if you can make it in Detroit,
If you can make it in Detroit, you can make
you can
it
make it anywhere.
anywhere. Yes.
Anywhere. anywhere. And when we talk about inspiration, I know that, of course, you have to do like a unanimous amount of research whenever you are looking to cover certain stories. But what keeps you inspired to keep going on the days where you're like, I just want to take a break?
It's a lot of those. I think what just keeps me going is the fact that there's so much that's still happening. You are seeing the rise of entrepreneurship, especially in our city, is astronomical, with Black women leading that right now in our city. In addition to that, there's also so much that is coming to the city. In 2024, we just hosted the largest attendance for the NFL draft. We have the Detroit is getting ready to have their WNBA team back. Today, it was just announced that Detroit is getting ready to have a women's hockey team. Well, now we officially do have a women's hockey team. Next year, we're going to, in 2027, we're going to have the NCAA Final Four is going to be back at Ford Field. It hasn't been here since I believe that was 2009. So you have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of eyes that are coming to Detroit now. In addition to now, we also have the lowest crime rate that we've had since the 1960s. So what just keeps me going is the fact that Detroit is still going. And for as long as our city is still going, someone has to be able to tell it. Someone has to be able to show it. And then how do you get
Yes.
other entities and events like the NFL draft, like the Final Four? Hopefully I'll keep manifesting. We'll have an Essence Fest here. I keep manifesting that we'll have the BET Awards
Yes.
here. But again, how do
Yes.
you get those eyes on our city? They're not going to come here if they don't see what's happening. And the only people to show what's happening in real time are the innovators, are the creatives, are the storytellers. That is our job essentially. And because I understand that this is the passion that I have, and I really do feel like this is my mission, this is my calling, that is what keeps me going. And again, as I stated earlier, I did not have that. I did not have that go-to person that I could go to coming out of college. I didn't have that mentor that could really just take my hand and just help guide me. I had to, like so many Detroiters, we have to struggle. It is very, very hard to even just find your placing. For as long as I know, I just don't want the next young Black journalist, whether it's a guy or a girl. I don't want, if I can help it, the Black journalists that's coming up behind me, they won't have to struggle the way I did. I can help them understand you don't have to go 10
Yes.
hours away from home to get your first job. You can go right over here to Henry Ford Hospital and work as a
Yes.
social media manager, work as a marketing specialist, work as a communication specialist. You can go right downtown to work for the city of Detroit and work in their media department and still do storytelling and still use your journalism degree. You can go right down the street to West Grand Boulevard and still work for the Detroit Public Schools Community District, working in their media department, still using your degree, because these opportunities are here. And these opportunities are here now that weren't here even just 10 years ago. So for as long as you have these opportunities, then then you have those outlets. And that is essentially, at the end of the day, what I feel like I'm really here to do, is just to be that person to the next aspiring media professional that I didn't have.
Where's the tissue? Where's the tissue? I need the tissue. I made my tea. I was in the middle of making my tea, and I always try to sip my tea when I hear a word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, I'm glad that you're saying this, and it's so beautiful to come across like-minded individuals, because there are times where there is a struggle here in the city where you have to continue to fight for, I wouldn't even say your way to the top, but you have to continue to fight for the respect of others,
It's the
right? No
respect.
matter how many
Yes.
credentials or certifications, right? And we're all about respect. We're all about, I guess, unfortunately, what's popping sometimes. Like, what's the
Uh-huh.
latest
It's
fad?
Detroit. It's
But
Detroit. Yes.
it's Detroit, because everybody famous in Detroit. Everybody
Everybody
famous in
famous.
Detroit.
Everybody's
But
a celebrity.
in reality, everybody's a celebrity. But in reality, you have people, you have these thought leaders. And I mean, obviously, I would consider you a thought leader beyond content creation, right? Beyond digital media or broadcast journalism. You're taking something and you continue to build out these stories for people that look like you and me, and especially knowing that your audience, you target, you know, an urban audience. I talked about this with my husband earlier today about the No Child Left Behind Act, and how if we don't know where we came from, then we will never know where we're heading, right? Or we
Mm-hmm.
will just continue to repeat the things that have happened in the past. We all know that we've had some editors that have acted as the gatekeeper, you know,
Mm-hmm.
of content, of anything that we need to know in order to move forward. But as a curator of your community,
Mm-hmm.
how will you continue to use your platform to, you know, mentor others with your gift of the gab?
Absolutely. And it's so crazy because now after I'm coming up on a year of being an independent storyteller. June 1st will be the 1 year anniversary from when I told my first story. And I've grown so much even in just this 1 year doing this independently. It started as just being the storyteller, right? Well, now today I'm literally building a business where I'm offering services to help, especially women who are entrepreneurs, who are business owners, who they don't know how to show up online. You know, people, there's so many people who had these businesses and they have no idea how to even operate their social media. You know, so many people think social media is still just posting a picture, posting a video, but it doesn't resonate. It's not doing anything. It's just blank content. So my goal now is I'm getting ready to actually have my very first workshop, and I'm calling it Craft Your Story, where I am essentially helping people build their confidence and find their inside voices and helping them lay the foundation to be able to craft the story for their brands and for their businesses, so that way they can show up in person confidently, but then also be able to show up online. Because again, social media is still very intimidating for so many people. There are so many people that
Mm,
still have so much doubt about, you know, why would someone listen to me, or I don't even know what value I have to offer. But they have their own personal stories. They just don't know how to align it and how to tell it. And so essentially that is now what I'm
yes.
building, with still continuing to do my journalistic stories. But I essentially, again, as a young girl who did not have a voice myself, I had to grow and learn this over time. I want to be able to give back to other women, whether you're going through something personally, or again, whether it's professionally, whether you're a beginning creator, or you're trying to, you know, learn how to create consistently, or you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, but you have no idea because you're trying to juggle balancing your business with your social media, whatever that may be. Essentially just helping women find the confidence to have their own voices and to be able to show up authentically in a ways that they didn't know how to before.
I'm gonna go ahead and grab my notebook and start taking my notes. Because listen, I mean, if anybody knows, just even sitting here and like doing interviews and talking on camera, you have to be able to capture people with your content. And it's like, you know, writing an essay or writing a report. That hook is so important. But
Yes.
you do have a lot of women that are scared to tell their stories, or that imposter syndrome creeps up, right? And they
Yes.
start to believe that they're incapable of being able to tell their story. But again, when they see people that look like us, um, you specifically, just you continuing to do the work that you're doing and to show up, and not only show up for these women, but I know you're showing up for yourself, to show yourself that I am more than enough, and I am
Oh. Oof.
better than the person that I used to be. And I continue to grow and grow as I continue to, you know, work and hone my craft. And each video is going to get better. Each report is going to get
Yes.
better. I'm going to
Yes.
get better. I'm going to be the best version of myself. But I know for you as a mother, you are setting the foundation for your beautiful little girls.
Yes.
And I know that if they were to ever come across, you know, a recording, a video, like they're going to see their mom shining and just making that little girl proud, you know, who once was like, you know, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't think I'm pretty enough to do this, or I don't know if I look good on
Yes.
camera, or I don't know if I like the sound of my voice, right? But
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for just being a vessel and for showing up and for saying, I am going to define all odds regardless of,
Yes.
you know, the inner voice that used to tell me like, nah, I can't do it. But because now you are literally out here crushing it. And when I say you are crushing it, like I really do mean this. Like
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy that I came across your content because I've just been watching you in your element. And like I said, I would tell my husband, I'm like, I love how she structures her content. I'm
Oh
like,
my
it
gosh,
is an
thank
art
you.
to hone your story. And like I said, I'm so tired of the aesthetics. I don't care about what's cute and what's popping. I care about what is your why? Like, why are you telling
Yes.
this story? Why are you here? And why should I stay? And every time you post something, I'm like, I'm gonna make sure I like her stuff to let her know that I'm really over here like rooting for her for real. And when I say like I'm
Thank
rooting
you.
for you, I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
gotta say
Thank
that.
you.
I
Thank
got
you. It means so much. Because again, this time last year, and I think so many of us go through this and we don't even realize how much we're alike. I was so anxious and so nervous to step into my first room. Because essentially I was stepping into my room alone. You're stepping into these rooms where for a lot of us we don't know anyone. Um everything is new. And again, Detroit is such a tough city. You mentioned you tapped into it earlier. Detroit is a city about respect. You know, a lot of people, they want to know why should they talk to you. They want to know why should they engage with you. And you have to be able to hold your own. And if you're a person that is timid, that can intimidate you. It really, really can. And I think that was a huge thing for me, being able to silence those inner doubts that I had within myself, those inner fears that I had within myself, and to say, you know what? I'm getting ready to walk into this networking at night event. I've never been here before. I only know one person, but we're going to do it anyway. We are literally going to show up anyway. But what happens is you do it once. Okay, there's another one. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. And then, okay, there's another one. I'm going to the next one. Until eventually it becomes, now you're just going. Now you're just going. Now you're just showing up. And eventually you don't even realize that you're by yourself, because now the more you're doing it, now you're starting to see familiar faces. Now people are starting to recognize you. Now you're making connections. Now it's, oh, hey, now you have the familiarity, and now you're building something more comfortable. You're becoming more comfortable with doing it. But it just starts with just showing up. And I know, especially for us as Black women, there's so much that is put on us to keep us from showing up how we want to show up, not how society or how someone else thinks that you should, but how we want to show up in a way that speaks and that fulfills us. And if anything, that that is how I want my daughters to see me. And I want them to see me as their mom who didn't let fear, didn't let doubts stop her. Even if she was scared to death, she did it anyway. And she did it in a way that fits her. My 6-year-old, I think my 6-year-old is heading in the arts direction. She loves to write, but she's creative. She's so innovative at 6 years old. She wants to be an author. But she'll get in front, she'll turn on my little ring light, and she'll turn she knows how to go on the camera, she knows how to hit record, and she
oh,
talks about the little kindergarten stories that she writes already. But I'm seeing the seeds that are being planted in her already at 6. I took her to her very first, it's so funny. when I was growing up, I always wanted to go see the Lion King on Broadway. I used to beg my mom, could we go to New York City? Because that's all I wanted to do was see Lion King on Broadway. Obviously, my mom never, we never made it to New York. But just this past March, I was able to go down and see the Lion King on Broadway for the very first time as an adult. But I was able to take my 6-year-old with me. That was her surprise birthday present. Literally, I feel like that I opened up a portal to her because now she's obsessed with Broadway. Now she's obsessed with theater. And I just know that moment meant so much for me already because I was able to do something that I've wanted to do as a child. I was able to do it on my own, but I was able to bring my baby with me. And even my 4-year-old, she's still doing what 4-year-olds do. But even with her, when she says that she's scared, I'm teaching her just essentially how to be brave in whatever it is that she wants to do. And I think just as mothers, especially when you have daughters, when you are a woman and you have a daughter looking at you, there's something about that that just lights an additional fire up under you because you are their first example. You are literally the foundation for
Yep.
everything in their life, for how they speak, how they think, how they feel about themselves. So if I'm vocalizing my fears and my doubts that I have on myself, I have two other sets of ears that are listening to that same fear and that same doubt. And now I'm putting that off me onto them. And I just refuse to do that.
Child, hold on, because you're not about to mess up my makeup today. You're not about to mess up my makeup today.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
But no, because you got me with the Lion King story. I grew up a theater kid.
hmm
My mom, she started working at a theater when I was 6 to help pay for like my dance lessons and stuff. And, fell in love with Broadway immediately. And one of the first shows I ended up working when I started working in theater was The Lion King. And just this past March, I was able to finally see The Lion King as an attendee and not as
hmm
somebody working. So when you say that, like when you hear stuff like that, it resonates, right? So for me, my little thug tear tried to creep down, but I got to keep it G. It had to stay up there real quick because
Yeah.
I got
You
all
suck
this
it in.
makeup, and I was like, I gotta be cute. I gotta keep it
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, I love it. And again, like I said, I know sometimes people they like to like perform for the camera and be all like, yeah, I gotta perform for the camera because we doing a podcast. But like this is really like coming from the heart. For me, I've been watching your content, and I think a lot of your content has helped me get out of my shell with interviewing. And I knew that I wanted to sit down and talk to you because you were a journalist. And
hmm
I originally went to school for journalism and then I stopped. But
hmm
that was always like a backup plan of mine. Like if I didn't pursue dance education, I was going to go for like broadcast journalism or something. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so when I watch your content, for me, I get inspired and I'm like, man, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what's stopping me from doing it, right?
Nothing.
So, and I'm really saying it like, thank you for like just showing up every day and all the time and just doing you, right? And
Yes.
really the energy, it feels real and it feels authentic. And I'm saying that because I've come across so many content creators, and I've come across content creators here in Detroit, and there's a level of authenticity that's missing sometimes when I watch that content. And oftentimes it can be performative, but I know deep down inside when you tell these stories because you really do care about the city, and you care
Yes.
about amplifying our voices.
Yes.
So thank you. Like I'm serious. Thank you so much. And just thank you
Absolutely.
even for taking the time out to come and kick with us here on the podcast for sure. Cause life be life.
Life
Life
be
be life.
lifey.
But
Life
I
be lifey.
appreciate you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you for giving me this space because you really have no idea who's watching um and who you're impacting. I think there's so many of us who started off and we didn't have a voice. I come across so many women every single day who are grown women, who are life coaches, who are business owners, and if you could hear how they feel about themselves when it comes to certain things, it's like, who's telling you this? You're telling yourself this. And I was the exact
Okay.
same. I was the exact same way. It took for one person who just so happens to be a coworker of mine who literally changed the way that my brain operated because of the way they spoke life into me. And sometimes that's all we just need is just one person to just turn that switch on for us. I remember being a teenager and just not liking how I looked at myself in the mirror. I just didn't feel good about myself in just any way, let alone did I ever think that I would be doing media and putting myself out there like this. But I think as scary as putting yourself out there is, I think that's also the beauty in it, because I think that's how you begin to also discover and to find yourself and to figure out what works for you and what doesn't, is by being brave enough and having enough courage to put yourself out there. And so hopefully, I just hope
Mhm.
that that is what resonates with somebody, is just to limit the fear and to limit the doubt, because it's not even fear, it's doubt. It's doubt that grows into fear that we feed into. You limit what you feed into and you change your own inner voice, and you can there's literally nothing that you cannot do. There's literally nothing.
I feel like you might have covered the last question, but I'm gonna ask you anyways. If you
Mhm.
can impart any wisdom on any aspiring or even current broadcast journalist or content creator, what would you tell them?
I would, oh, here's a big one. I would tell them to stay true to yourself and to not try
Yes.
to fit in. You see so many creators now who are all going in similar directions. You see a lot of content that's being posted that it kind of looks the same. Um but that's because we see that that's what works. We see that that's what clicks. We see that's what gets shared. But there's something about not fitting in. There's something about not doing
Yep.
what you see other people doing and staying true to what it is that you want to talk about. And sometimes I even have to remind myself, is this captivating enough? Like, is somebody does somebody really want to hear this? Because it's not trending. But again, going back to the
Ooh, the
aesthetics,
algorithm, the algorithm.
yeah,
Yep.
it's okay. The one thing I want somebody to know, whether you have to go against an executive producer, a news station, against what the masses are doing, it is okay to be different. It is okay to do different. It is okay to be original and
Yes.
to be authentic. And that is what lasts long term, as opposed to just doing what is trendy now. Be authentic to what it is that you want to do. And think about, how do you want to be represented? You are your first pillar. You are your first brand. And how do you want people to see you? And I guess for me, I've always been a little different. I never really fitted in with the crowd, honestly. And I think I just embrace that more now that I'm older. And I think that has what has played in my favor now, is because the stories I tell, the content I post, it is different from what you see a lot of creators post. But I think that that's also what Detroit needs. I think Detroit needs more innovators. I think Detroit needs more
Yes.
storytellers. We need more people to really get to the root of a lot of things versus just the aesthetic. So that's what I hope someone can take
Yeah.
away from me.
Miss Jazlyn Lindsay, thank you so much for sitting down and just for taking time out of your schedule to simply offer your charismatic testimony, right? And I'm saying that because Like really, like thank you. Thank you for just being you. Like, and I appreciate it. And I'm gonna always, continue to support. I will leave a comment under your stuff like, yes, girl, tell them, right? Also, thank you. Thank you just for just continuing to just amplify our voices in a way where we need to be heard, and for doing it correctly. Because again, like you said, sometimes people forget about their why and they focus on the what, right?
Yes.
But where? Where can we find you on social media?
Absolutely. So you can follow me. I mainly most of my stories are posted on Instagram at the Jazz Report. I also am on TikTok at the Jazz Report. But if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner and you need help, you want consultation and learning how to tell your brand or your business's story, or you don't even know where to get started, I do offer consultation services as well. You can look on my Instagram bio. You can click the link. And there is a request your story form. You can fill that out, and you can also visit www.thejazzreport.com, where you can also see more information on me, the type of events that I cover. You can see the analytics and everything that you need. And also you can just stay tuned because, like I said, I have something big that's coming up for those that want to learn how to start crafting their stories.
Well, listen, first off, I'm gonna make sure that we have everything. When I say everything included in today's episode at the bottom of the screen. So if you are watching on YouTube, if you are listening on any other streaming platform, y'all, please make sure you all tap in for real, because these are gems that Jazzlyn is dropping, and this is going to help somebody. And we need to support our people, and we need to support the people with the right credentials as well. Let me just put that out there, okay? She has the credentials to do this. So definitely want to put that out there. I gotta put that out there, y'all, okay? Because everybody got the credentials, but she has it. She is the one. And okay, no, for real. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Starving Artist Development Podcast. You already know where you can find us on Instagram and on Facebook, Starving Artist Development. So make sure you are following us on social media. We are, of course, on all streaming platforms. Make sure you tap in and you listen. You can also visit our website at www.starvingartistdevelopment.com. We have more tools and resources for people that are interested in looking into starting their podcast career, but they keep procrastinating because of that imposter syndrome. Let me tell you, everybody has a story, and you should want to hone your craft. And if you're going to be anything, a thought leader, or even if you are in content creation, I really think that podcasting is the way to go. So make sure you check us out. But most importantly, I would like to thank tonight's guest, Miss Jazlyn Lindsay. Make sure you all tap in with her, follow her on social media, go to her website, and please register for this event, especially if you are here in the city. And if you are not here in the city, we still gonna tap in regardless. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Starving Artist Development Podcast. We look forward to kicking it with you all soon. Bye.